Part 129. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1281. Chapter 1281 Night Talk in the Rescue Room. She had known for a long time that he had great magical powers, but she didn't expect that he would come so quickly. Looking at the man, she was stunned for a short moment before saying, "Are you here?" He nodded, his voice light and calm, "Your friend is fine." A big stone in Xia Yingluo's heart fell to the ground instantly. Strangely enough, she didn't even try to distinguish the truth from falsehood in his words. As long as Wei Lingnan said it was okay, that person would definitely be okay, no doubt. She asked, "Can I go see her?" Wei Lingnan nodded, and at the same time, he glanced at Zhao Yuxuan not far away in the corridor with an unkind expression. Zhao Yuxuan quickly lowered his head when he saw him. For some reason, he just felt that this man's seemingly normal eyes were very scary, making people feel inexplicably frightened. Zhao Yuxuan's legs were shaking involuntarily, and he could hardly stand. Fortunately, Wei Lingnan was concerned about Xia Yingluo's situation and did not continue to look at Zhao Yuxuan. Instead, he followed Xia Yingluo into the operating room. Xia Yingluo saw Jin Ling lying alone on the hospital bed, looking pale, but her breathing was very slow, and all the signs displayed on the medical equipment were normal. She called softly a few times, "Jingle, bell." The golden bell on the hospital bed did not respond. Wei Lingnan said, "She lost too much blood and needs a good rest. When she wakes up from sleep, nothing will happen." Xia Yingluo checked her condition again, turned to Wei Lingnan and said, "Thank you." Wei Lingnan's voice was light, "Why are you being polite to me?" As he spoke, he walked up to several medical staff present, placed his palms on their foreheads, remained silent for a moment, then removed his palms and walked to the next person to do the same thing. Xia Yingluo then noticed that besides them, there were several medical staff present in the operating room. Those medical staff stood motionless as if they had been restrained, with stiff expressions and dull eyes. She asked with some worry, what happened to these people? If she guessed correctly, these people should be the ones who had operated on Jin Ling here before. Wei Lingnan said, "It's okay. I appeared too suddenly and they saw me. So I can only immobilize them first and then erase their memories. When they wake up, they will think that I never appeared and they were the ones who saved me." Okay, Jin Ling Xia Yingluo once heard Wei Shaiyin say that Wei Lingnan had the ability to erase other people's memories. When she saw it with her own eyes, she was still shocked. Wei Lingnan raised his eyes and looked at her, "Are you afraid?" Xia Yingluo shook her head subconsciously. "Are you scared?" "I can't say, I just find it incredible that there are actually people in the world who can erase and reshape other people's memories like in the movies. If you think about it carefully, it's really subversive." "Actually, it's just a kind of brain science," Wei Lingnan explained to her. "When human science and technology advances to a certain level, it can also do such a thing. In fact, as far as I know, in some places on the earth, some organizations can already achieve this function through surgery. I am just better than them and can do it as quickly as possible without damaging it." Xia Yingluo nodded, feeling that she was crazy for actually agreeing that his explanation was reasonable. "Then how did you cure Jin Ling she asked. "It's very simple. Life is a kind of energy. Injury and blood loss are the loss of energy," Wei Lingnan said. "All matter in the universe is composed of different forms of energy, and all energy is flowing. We are the Katana people have a far deeper understanding of energy than the people on Earth. As long as the energy is reversed, her life form can be maintained. This is easy, so he came as quickly as possible. Jin Linger reverses her energy before she dies. Once death occurs and the energy dissipates, it is extremely difficult to resurrect a person." What Wei Lingnan did not tell Xia Yingluo was that these explanations were not only the Skatana people's understanding of energy, but also his own experience gained from repeated failures in resurrection experiments over hundreds of millions of years. Once the sea was difficult, after experiencing such a huge and heavy experiment, the small reversal injury had been completely unable to overwhelm him. Xia Yingluo sighed, no wonder the earth has tolerated you for so long. The technologies you have mastered are very helpful to mankind. Wei Lingnan smiled, no, the earth actually doesn't care that much about human life and death. It only cares about balance and its own growth in the vast universe. The reason why it has been able to tolerate me for so long is because I have maintained the ecological balance of the earth, and continue to help it develop and grow. Do you know the technological explosion in the past 100 years? You mean the rapid development of science and technology in the past 100 years? Xia Yingluo was suddenly incredulous, don't tell me that you did all these things. Wei Lingnan smiled and said nothing. Oh my god, it couldn't really be you who did it. Xia Yingluo's views were subverted again. Wei Lingnan said, these are technology trees developed using the original resources on the earth. When technology develops further, the earth will be able to resist the invasion of other races in the universe. Although the earth is in a remote part of the universe, no one can guarantee that I will be discovered by other races at any time, so it is still necessary to reserve some means of self-protection. This can be regarded as an exchange between me and the earth. Xia Yingluo felt like she was listening to a fantasy. From his understatement, she seemed to see a grand blueprint of the universe. This was something she had never thought of in the past 10 years of her life. Wei Lingnan looked down at her, with a faint light flashing in his eyes. Allo, are you excited? You have always wanted to conquer the entire universe before. You must be very excited to hear such a thing. The boiling fire in Xia Yingluo's heart cooled down. I'm not excited at all, and I don't want to conquer the whole universe at all, she said. Wei Lingnan, you think too highly of me. I am not a Luo at all. Wei Lingnan said softly, you lied. Xia Yingluo turned her head away from him and said, anyway, thank you for saving my friend. This means to end the conversation and to clear the relationship. Wei Lingnan said quietly, Allo, don't you find it strange? Normal people would be frightened when they see all the strange things I show, but you have been acting as if nothing has happened, as if you can quickly accept these shocks. That's because you are originally from the Scatena planet, and deep in your memory, you know very well that all of this is normal and not surprising. No, Xia Yingluo retorted, it's just because I was born in the Li family, and my uncle is from that kind of family. I have seen too many strange things in this world, and you are not enough. Wei Lingnan, don't you always think that I am some kind of a Luo, which is totally unrealistic? Do you hear me clearly? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1282. Chapter 1282 Miss Xia stays. Wei Lingnan looked at her with a cold expression and said nothing. Xia Yingluo looked at him without fear. After a moment, Wei Lingnan smiled, his smile not reaching his eyes. You always have a way to make me angry. To each other Xia Yingluo was not polite. The conversation was deadlocked and both of them were unhappy. Wei Lingnan turned around and walked out of the operating room. In the corridor, Zhao Yuxuan disappeared without knowing when. Only the pale white light was shining quietly, making everything around him disturbing. Xia Yingluo also withdrew and said to him, remember to restore those medical staff to their original state. Wei Lingnan glanced at her, sneered, turned and left. This man has a really big temper. Xia Yingluo thought bitterly, isn't it just because he is an alien? It seems like anything can be done. I hope he won't beg for her one day. I waited uneasily in the long corridor. Not long after waiting, the door of the emergency room was opened, and this time several medical staff came out. Congratulations, Miss Xia. One of the doctors took off his mask and gloves, smiled at her and said, The patient is out of danger. As long as he gets a good rest, he will be fine. Xia Yingluo breathed a sigh of relief. This time it was not for Jin Linger, but for the medical staff. It was great that they were okay. The medical staff, who had no idea what was going on, left as usual. As they walked, they whispered to each other, "Director Zhao's techniques have improved again. It's a small miracle that this girl can survive." Who says it's not the case? No wonder the old professors at the Second Medical University said they wanted to learn from him last time. The discussion gradually faded away. Jin Linger was transferred to the general ward, and Xia Yingluo went to accompany her. The next day, Jin Linger woke up and was surprised to see Xia Yingluo. "Yingluo, did we escape? How are you? Have you been bullied by those bad guys?" Xia Yingluo was very touched. Although Jin Linger had already passed away behind closed doors, the first thing she said when she woke up was that she was concerned about whether she was okay. "We have come out," she said. "I am fine and safe. The doctor said your injuries are not serious." "Linger, why are you so careless? Never use a knife to fight someone for me in the future fighting." Jin Linger smiled stupidly. "When I saw Pei Yan trying to cut your face with a knife, I was so anxious that I couldn't care about anything else. A girl's face is so important. If it is really disfigured, what should Yingluo do in the future?" Xia Yingluo held her hand. "Silly girl." The two chatted for a while, and Jin Linger asked her, "How did we escape?" Xia Yingluo told her what she could. After she finished speaking, she couldn't help but think of Wei Lingnan again. The man tried so hard this time, but was scolded by her and broke up unhappy. Did she go too far? Thinking about this, his expression became a little sad. The door of the ward was pushed open, and it was Jin Linger's family members who arrived. Zhao Yuxuan called Jin Linger's family last night. They hurriedly rushed from other places and only arrived at this time. Xia Yingluo took advantage of the situation and gave up the space to her family and retreated. After leaving the hospital, the sky was blue and white clouds were outside, and the air was fine. Xia Yingluo looked up at the sky, hesitated for a moment, then took a car and went straight to Wei Lingnan's company. The lady at the front desk asked her if she had an appointment. She said, "Tell him I am Xia Yingluo and he will meet me." The lady at the front desk dialed the internal phone number and relayed the message. However, the reply she got was, "I'm sorry, Miss Xia. Mr. Wei said he was busy and I can't see anyone right now." Xia Yingluo was very disappointed. Could this man still be angry? His mind is too small. Everything that happened since she met him flashed through Xia Yingluo's mind. If she really wanted to be angry, it was Xia Yingluo who should be angry. She was treated as someone else for no reason and was stalked. Who cares? It's all uncomfortable. Originally, she came here to reconcile with Wei Lingnan, but after all, she is a rich young lady. She has never done anything serious to apologize to anyone in her life, so she feels a little awkward. Now that she was rejected by Wei Lingnan, her temper got worse, and she turned around and walked out. As he walked, he muttered, "What, you perverted bastard?" After walking far away, suddenly, someone behind her called her, "Is this Miss Xia? Please wait a moment." Xia Yingluo turned around and saw an unfamiliar old man, wearing a white researcher uniform, looking at her earnestly. Xia Yingluo felt very strange. "Who are you?" The old man said, "I am Mr. Wei's assistant and I am responsible for taking care of him. Mr. Wei is in a very bad situation now. Please come and take a look at me." Xia Yingluo was caught off guard and felt as if her heart had been stabbed hard. She asked, "Wasn't he fine last night?" "Mr. Wei received your call last night and went to find you immediately," the old man said. "You are not an outsider, and I will not hide it from you. He used teleportation at that time, which consumed a lot of energy and saved people. Life is not as easy as he said. On the contrary, it is a big burden on his current body. Mr. Wei once said that the energy on the earth is very weak, and he needs to consume far more energy to live here for a day. It is far greater than the energy absorbed, so energy is very precious to him. He has consumed too much energy this time and will not be able to recover for a while. When you just came to him, he was receiving treatment in the laboratory, so there is no way to see you. Xia Yingluo was shocked. The lady at the front desk said he was busy. That's what Mr. lied to you because he didn't want you to worry. Xia Yingluo felt bad all over. Wei Lingnan's handsome but cold face appeared in her mind, and she couldn't believe that he would lie to her just to worry her. But she knew that the old man was not lying, because the lie would be exposed immediately. She hurriedly said to the old man, "Take me to see him." The old man was very pleased that Miss Xia finally had some conscience. He nodded and hurriedly led her to the underground laboratory. The elevator spins and sinks. Xia Yingluo was so worried that she was silent all the way. The old man said, "With all due respect, what you just said is too much." Xia Yingluo was slightly startled. The old man said, "There is a surveillance camera installed at the front desk of the company. When I heard that you were here, my husband turned on the surveillance camera on the spot regardless of his own health. He can read lips and saw that you were scolding him." Xia Yingluo was speechless. Is this okay? Didn't she just scold him a few times? As for the one who went up and down the line? However, when she thought of Wei Lingnan's physical condition, she felt guilty. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1283. Chapter 1283 Visitation. She had a complicated mood and followed the old man to the underground laboratory. Wei Lingnan was lying on the bed in the center of the laboratory, with all kinds of tubes inserted into his body. His face was pale, his eyes were dull, and he only had weak breathing. Xia Yingluo looked at him, and the needle-like pain in her heart turned into a knife, and she didn't know why. It seemed that she felt especially uncomfortable when the man in front of her was suffering. She walked over and called softly, "Wei Lingnan." The man on the bed did not look at her, but at the old man behind her, with a weak voice, "Why did you bring her here?" The old man looked a little frightened, but he still insisted, "Sir, you have done so much for the lady, you should let her know." Wei Lingnan's eyes were still dim, but he said firmly, "Get out." Xia Yingluo said, "If you are already so ill, why are you chasing people away?" Wei Lingnan said, "When did you care about me so much?" Xia Yingluo saw that he looked really bad. He was not as calm as last night at all. She was in no mood to argue with him, so she just asked, "How is your health?" Wei Lingnan said, "I can't die." Xia Yingluo was very angry, "I know you can't die. You are not the kind of person who would risk your life to save others." She regretted it as soon as she said it. No matter what, Wei Lingnan spent a lot of energy to save Jin. Ling how could she speak evil words to him? After a moment of silence, Xia Yingluo said, "Sorry." Wei Lingnan said, "You don't have to be sorry to me. In fact, you think I am just a perverted monster who comes and goes when you call me." Speaking, he smiled somewhat self-deprecatingly. Xia Yingluo felt uncomfortable because of his laughter, and whispered, "No. No." Wei Lingnan asked, "What is that?" Xia Yingluo remembered that he could read lips and saw herself scolding him at the front desk, so she said, "I'm very grateful to you for saving Jin Ling. I came here to apologize to you today. You should be happy and take good care of yourself soon. Don't let me worry." The last sentence made Wei Lingnan's eyes light up. He smiled slightly and said, "Are you worried about me?" Xia Yingluo turned her head and said, I didn't know you needed to expend so much energy to save people. I thought it would be easy for you. Wei Lingnan whispered, nothing is easy in this world. Every achievement of his is made with blood and sweat. Many things may seem easy to others, but they don't know how much he has put in behind the scenes. Effort. Xia Yingluo was silent for a moment. Anyway, I owe you this time. What are you going to pay back? Wei Lingnan asked. Xia Yingluo really doesn't know what to say about him. Why doesn't this man know how to be humble? However, after all, she owed him. Xia Yingluo said, the grace of saving a life is more important than Mount Tai. One day, when you need my help, I will do my best. Wei Lingnan said, don't say anything, as if I want you to go through mountains of swords and seas of fire. Xia Yingluo said, I really can't think of anything you need my help with. This man is so powerful that there is probably nothing that can trouble him on earth. Wei Lingnan looked at her and said, be my girlfriend. Xia Yingluo lowered her head slightly, I've said it many times, I'm not your ally. It's time for me to go. Speaking, he turned around and left as if fleeing. Wei Lingnan looked at her back and was speechless for a long time. The old man who witnessed all this was a little worried. Mr. Wei. Wei Lingnan closed his eyes slightly and said, call Wei Shaiyan tomorrow. The next day, Wei Shaiyan was reluctantly called to the underground laboratory. Looking at Wei Lingnan lying on the bed, he did not relax his vigilance. Little uncle, is something wrong? He was such a little uncle. Danger, every time you call him, something bad will happen, which makes his nerves highly nervous. Wei Lingnan's face was still pale, and he frowned as if he was troubled. Yingluo is always wondering whether she is a luo or not. No matter what I do, I can't impress her. Sure enough, it's love trouble again. Wei Shaiyan was going crazy. Little uncle, you have been alive for I don't know how many years, and you are said to be much more experienced than a single person like me. Do you think it's appropriate for you to ask me repeatedly about this kind of thing? After all these years, although there were a lot of girls chasing Wei Shaiyan, he never got married, and no one in his family urged him anyway. The direct consequence of this is that there are various rumors in the entertainment industry, some saying that he is gay, some saying that he does not have sex, and some saying what religion he believes in. His little uncle has been in love after all, but he has never even been in love. Okay. Wei Lingnan said calmly, don't you compose love songs? Can this be the same thing? Wei Shaiyan went crazy. Wei Lingnan continued to worry, how can I make a luo continue to be with me? Wei Shaiyan was no longer too lazy to correct his question about whether Xia Yingluo was a luo. In order to get away as soon as possible, she only said, I will buy you 2 more books. He was about to buy all the love books on the market. Moved back to this underground base. Wei Lingnan seemed to be unable to think of a better way, so he waved his hand and let him go. Xia Yingluo is still rehearsing and performing in the training camp. After the initial run-in, the rehearsals became more and more smooth, and all the actors performed very well. They gradually began to believe that this would be an excellent drama. Because it went smoothly, everyone was very relaxed, and the relationship between the entire crew was very harmonious. They laughed and gossiped in their free time. Have you heard, on this day, someone gossiped, I heard that Miss Pei Yan was making noises about breaking off her engagement with Zhao Yuxuan. Her brother Pei Chenja disagreed, and the two had a fierce quarrel at home. Why do you want to break off the engagement? Another person asked curiously, does it mean that Miss Pei has finally seen the true face of the scumbag Zhao Yuxuan? Now the entire crew is fawning over Xia Yingluo, knowing that Xia Yingluo and Zhao Yuxuan are due and couldn't bear to look back on the affair, so he stepped on Zhao Yuxuan desperately and directly degraded him into a scumbag, although Zhao Yuxuan was indeed a scumbag. Xia Yingluo was sitting next to her, drinking mineral water and listening to their gossip. Seeing several trainees turning to look at her, she smiled and said, don't look at me, I don't know what's going on. Come on, Xiaohong, Tell me the inside information. She was really curious. Since Wei Lingnan scared away Zhao Yuxuan that day, Zhao Yuxuan has never appeared again, but she doesn't know what kind of conflict she has with Pei Yan. So the trainee named Xiaohong said, "This time is really exciting. I heard that Zhao Yuxuan had some strange disease and Pei Yan disliked him, but Pei Chenja thought that the disease was not serious and did not agree to their separation. Haha, it turns out that their brother-sister relationship is nothing more than that, and Pei Chenja would rather sacrifice his sister's happiness in order to win over the emperor's biggest manager." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1284. Chapter 1284. Dare to touch my woman. Xia Yingluo didn't know Pei Chenja very well. When her companion said this, she felt a little emotional. It seemed that Pei Yan's life as a young lady was not as glorious as it seemed on the surface, and the pain involved in it was not understandable to outsiders. She suddenly felt lucky that she was born in a family like the Li family, with a gentle mother and loving father and brother. She was many times happier than daughters from other big families. She asked Xiaohong, "What kind of strange disease is it?" Xiaohong blinked, "I don't know. Zhao Yuxuan and the Pei family are keeping it secret. As a young trainee, I really can't find out. Yingluo, if we want to talk about this gossip, everyone has to rely on you. You can find out it's much easier than us." After saying this, a group of people looked at Xia Yingluo with bright eyes. Xia Yingluo laughed when they looked at her. "No wonder you are telling me this gossip, you are counting on me to find out." This group of people had been with her for a long time, and they were bold. They were not as cautious as they were at first, and the relationship was very close. Rapport. She didn't really bother to inquire about Zhao Yuxuan's condition. She wasn't bored to that point, but she occasionally mentioned it to her parents when she went home on weekends. At that time, Li Lei was combing Xiaoling's long hair. The husband and wife were loving and the years were peaceful. Hearing her question, Li Lei smiled and gloated, "You dare to bully my daughter, you deserve retribution. I heard that his whole body is rotten except for his face. You can't see him when he takes off his clothes. He also smells extremely bad. I don't know how much perfume he uses every day. I only dare to go out if I need some medicine. It's okay to say it's not serious. It's not life-threatening. It just looks a little disgusting." Xia Yingluo was a little dumbfounded when she heard this. So it's a skin disease. She wanted to break off the engagement because of a minor skin disease. Miss Pei was indeed a little too willful. Her mother Xiaoling curled up comfortably in a wicker chair, enjoying the service of her beloved, and said, "This disease is the most unbearable. His whole body is rotten. Who wouldn't break up with him?" On the side, Li Lei paused while combing Xiaoling's long hair, feeling a little aggrieved. "If my whole body is rotten, will you not want me?" Xiaoling's eyes flickered and she looked at him with a half-smile. "Don't you know that I married you because you are handsome? If you dare to try to get naked, I will divorce you and remarry immediately." Li Lei felt even more aggrieved. Xia Yingluo has long been accustomed to the show of affection between her parents and pondered to herself, how come Zhao Yuxuan got a strange disease even though he was fine? Li Lei tapped her head with a comb. "Stupid." Xia Yingluo covered her head with her hands and looked at him with tears in her eyes. "You scolded me. You are stupid enough to kill me." Li Lei said, "Don't tell anyone you are my daughter when you go out. Don't you think about who Zhao Yuxuan has offended recently?" "You offended me," Xia Yingluo said, "but I haven't even taken revenge on him yet." "Dad, could it be you who did it?" "Isn't this not your style?" Li Lei's style is to directly use the knife to attack him. He has a lot of guns to kill people, but he is not very good at this kind of trick to bring back the damage. This is not his strong point. Li Lei scolded her again. "Stupid, think again." Xia Yingluo came to her senses at this time and gasped slightly. "Wei Lingnan, That man didn't know what kind of black technology he had mastered, and it was so easy to make people look like this. Lilei said, he still cares about you. Xia Yingluo lowered her head slightly, with mixed feelings in her heart. The man was obviously hurt so badly, but he still cared about her and avenged her. But what about her? Every time we met, we would quarrel, and we would end up unhappy every time. Xiaoling, whose long hair had been combed by her husband, raised her head to look at her daughter. Yingluo, what are you thinking? I don't know, she whispered, maybe he just sees me as a stand-in. Do you love him? Xiaoling asked softly. Xia Yingluo looked a little confused. If you love it, go for it, no matter who the substitute is or not, Xiaoling said. If you don't love it, just walk away and stop getting entangled with such a dangerous person. No matter what you choose, your parents will always be on your side of. Xia Yingluo didn't know what to choose. Her mother's words echoed in her heart, and there was a small voice in her heart, encouraging her to find Wei Lingnan. She tossed and turned, often waking up in the middle of the night, dreaming of the dreamy dark purple star Scatena. Sometimes she even thought how great it would be if she really was Aluo. On the day I returned to the training camp, I met a person at the school gate. A man in a white shirt, his tall figure standing in the sun, holding a bouquet of white flowers in his hand. Yingluo, he smiled at her, I'm well and I'm here to see you. Xia Yingluo didn't sneer at him as usual, she just said, let's find a place to sit. Wei Lingnan was a little flattered and followed her towards the woods of the training camp. Along the way, many trainees smiled kindly at them and whispered, these two are a perfect match. Wei Lingnan's eyebrows showed a hint of smile. The weather is fine and the sun is shining brightly. Xia Yingluo took him to sit on a wooden bench by the lake and said, you are in good health. Don't catch a cold. Actually, not catching a cold had no impact on Wei Lingnan's physique, but he still said gently, okay. He sat down on the wooden chair obediently. Xia Yingluo looked sideways at him and suddenly felt that the man in front of her was so good-looking, with deep three-dimensional features and handsome eyebrows. Such an appearance was rare in the world. What are you looking at? Wei Lingnan asked her. Are you so good-looking? Why aren't there many girls chasing you? Xia Yingluo had nothing to say, but on the other hand she was really curious. Isn't there Gu Jingxiu? He said. Seeing Xia Yingluo's face darken, Wei Lingnan knew that he had said the wrong thing, so he made up for it. She doesn't want to be with me because I'm good-looking, she just knows my net worth and wants to find a job for herself, a good marriage with no worries about food and clothing, and enough shelter from wind and rain. She may not like me that much. Xia Yingluo said, you can see it clearly. Wei Lingnan said, I have not lived in vain for so many years. The two of them looked at the calm lake and were silent for a moment. Xia Yingluo asked him, did you do what made Zhao Yuxuan sick? Actually, you don't have to do that. Zhao Yuxuan has long been a piece of dust worth mentioning in her eyes, and it doesn't matter whether she takes revenge or not. Wei Lingnan said, if you dare to touch my woman, such a punishment will be considered light. He once thought about whether to kill Zhao Yuxuan directly, but later he felt that the disgusting scumbag did not pose a threat to him, and killing him would be too cheap. Letting Zhao Yuxuan live and suffer, experiencing physical pain and betrayal by those around him, is the best choice. Xia Yingluo lowered her head and became quiet again. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1285. Chapter 1285 Piano Concert. Wei Lingnan was keenly aware of her emotional changes. Are you unhappy? Xia Yingluo said, no. The conversation with her mother Xiaoling that day was still lingering in her mind. Should she really be brave and stop worrying about Aluo? Wei Lingnan said to her softly, is there anything you can't tell me? No matter what, I will stay with you until the end of the world. It's such a distant term. She couldn't help but ask again, What if I'm not a Luo? What if your Luo comes back? Wei Lingnan said, then I will accompany you. Because you are a Luo. The last sentence, Wei Lingnan did not tell her. That day, Wei Shayin bought him many love books. After reading them, he discovered that women have to be coaxed. So he decided to coax her. What she was worried about would never happen anyway, so why bother with it all the time? Sure enough, after listening to his words, Xia Yingluo's face relaxed a little. Wei Lingnan reached out and took her into his arms. Aluo. Call me Yingluo, she just said without struggling. He did not answer, but lowered his head and kissed her. Be my girlfriend, his voice was a little hoarse. If you agree, I can call you Yingluo just one step at a time. First he coaxed her to become his girlfriend, so that she would never be able to leave him again. Then it's up to him to decide whether to call her Yingluo or Aluo. What's more, maybe it won't be long before Aluo remembers his true identity, and by then, the title will no longer cause any problems. His embrace carries a slight warmth and fragrance. A clean white shirt, the same clean voice, eyes, and brows. Xia Yingluo sank in and nodded unconsciously. Yingluo Wei Lingnan smiled, my Yingluo. What is it like to fall in love with an alien? Xia Yingluo felt that there was no difference between being with people on Earth. They went on dates to eat and watch movies just like an ordinary pair of lovers, everything went as planned. The difference is that there is a lot more smile on his face than before. Even Jin Linger said, she has become more beautiful. It is indeed nourished by love. Xia Yingluo smiled and was a little unsure, I don't know if it's right to be with him. How old are you, to be so old-fashioned? Jin Linger stretched out her hand to pinch her face, and the breakable skin felt good to the touch. Let me tell you, at our age, even if you fall in love with the wrong person, it doesn't matter, there are still good days ahead. Besides, I don't think Wei Lingnan is like that scumbag, he is very nice. What kind of bribe did Wei Lingnan give you to help him speak like this? Xia Yingluo glanced at Jin Linger. Jin Linger said, since you chose him, you shouldn't be confident in your own vision. Xia Yingluo turned her head proudly, of course I have confidence. He even asked me to go to the concert tonight. Jin Linger smiled and said, just show off. The two people were talking when someone knocked on the door. It was the dormitory aunt who brought Xia Yingluo's express delivery, mysterious gift box. The dormitory aunt smiled and said to Xia Yingluo. Since her identity was exposed, the entire training camp, the teachers and students from top to bottom treat her very well. Xia Yingluo wrote that the dormitory aunt opened the express box. In the carefully crafted craft paper box, there is a neatly folded set of formal gowns. The silver blue silk satin is gleaming, as if woven with the gentlest water, and it is so beautiful. Wow, it's so beautiful, Jin Linger exclaimed. This new style was just released at the Paris fashion show last week. I heard that a skirt like this costs hundreds of thousands. These trainees are very knowledgeable about fashion. Sensitive. Xia Yingluo looked down at the box and found a card. This is a gift from Wei Lingnan. He asked me to wear this skirt to the concert at night. He is so rich, Jin Linger said. How strange. Isn't he just a small and medium-sized entrepreneur? Where did he get so much money? Look at his black supercar, which is quite nice. Does he still have it? Other business. She really guessed it? Xia Yingluo said, he is quite rich, but I don't care if he has money or not. Jin Linger said, only you have the confidence to say such a thing. Your family is the richest in the world, okay. Xia Yingluo just smiled and did not tell her that Wei Lingnan was as rich as the Li family and the Xia family. Such a super rich man sent a dress worth hundreds of thousands, which was just a drop in the bucket to him. Xia Yingluo accepted it without any psychological barriers and wore it with Jin Linger's help. It is indeed very good looking, and it suits her very well. The silver blue gleaming satin material was gentle against her skin, flowing like water waves, reflecting her bright eyes and white teeth, making her look bright with hope. Jin Linger was dumbfounded. That person in your family is not only rich, but also very visionary. Xia Yingluo turned around in the mirror and liked the dress very much. She said, "Let me see what makeup and hairstyle it matches." "The set of cosmetics Wei Lingnan gave you last time was very good," Jin Linger helped her with ideas. "The rose gold eyeshadow is so gorgeous, just right for occasions like concerts, and he really chooses it every time. Everything suits you very well." Xia Yingluo listened to her and used that set of rose gold eyeshadow. She looked really beautiful, like a beautiful woman walking out of a painting. "If I were a man, I would fall in love with you." After finishing her makeup, Jin Linger looked at Xia Yingluo with admiration. Xia Yingluo is already very beautiful in her daily attire, but now wearing a formal dress and jewelry is like the icing on the cake, so beautiful that people can't take their eyes away. Xia Yingluo said, "If you were a man, I would marry you." "That's it, it's settled." They laughed and joked for a while. Seeing that it was almost time, Wei Lingnan drove to the entrance of the training camp to pick her up. Getting in the car, Wei Lingnan's eyes also lit up. "You look very beautiful tonight." Xia Yingluo was in a good mood. "That's because you know how to choose clothes." He is also dressed very nicely today. He is wearing a starry black suit, a white shirt and a bow tie. His hair is meticulously combed. He looks well dressed and well groomed. He can make many girls blush and scream. A smile appeared on Wei Lingnan's lips, and he drove towards the concert. This is a piano solo concert, performed by the famous British piano master Ike. The two of them entered the hall playing with their hands. The concert hadn't started yet, and there were people everywhere chatting quietly and gracefully. Xia Yingluo also chatted with Wei Lingnan in a low voice. "I didn't expect you to like such an occasion." "The sound of human piano can make me feel peaceful," Wei Lingnan said. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1286. Chapter 1286, Encounter in the Shopping Mall. Xia Yingluo didn't feel much about such an occasion. She had been active since she was a child and could not stand still, but now that she was with Wei Lingnan, she felt happy. She just had a pair of beautiful eyes, but she was always looking around. Suddenly she saw a crystal shop not far from the crowded hall, so she took Wei Lingnan's hand and said, "Let's go over and have a look." Girls always like shiny things, so Wei Lingnan was led by her to look at them. The store is very large, filled with all kinds of crystal jewelry, including flower shapes, small fish shapes, and many abstract shapes that cannot be named, including necklaces, bracelets, earrings, brooches, all dazzling and dazzling. "Look at them, they are so beautiful," Xia Yingluo said to Wei Lingnan. "That peony brooch over there is really beautiful. This is the first time I have seen such a beautiful brooch." Wei Lingnan looked down at her. "You like it? I'll give it to you." Xia Yingluo shook her head and reluctantly looked away. "I already have so many accessories that I can't even fit them in the dormitory. Moreover, we are going out to a concert today, so it is inconvenient to hold this brooch. The style and color of this brooch, although it looked good, it didn't match her dress today. She couldn't put it on directly and it was always a burden to hold it in her hand." Leaving the brooch exhibition stand, she looked elsewhere, gradually getting further and further away. Wei Lingnan was originally with her, but at some point he walked away. He took off the brooch she liked very much from the display table and said to the salesperson, "Wrap it up." Xia Yingluo didn't notice what he was doing behind her. "I was so dazzled by the crystal crafts that I accidentally bumped into someone. Looking up, we were really enemies on a narrow road. It was Gu Jingxiu." Gu Jingxiu didn't expect to see her here and was surprised. Xia Yingluo, why are you here? You can come, but I can't, Xia Yingluo said bluntly. She had a very bad impression of Gu Jingxiu, and she didn't even bother to make excuses. Gu Jingxiu frowned slightly. Who are you here with? She had a vague foreboding in her heart. Earlier, when she invited Wei Lingnan to come to this concert, Wei Lingnan refused. Now, Xia Yingluo, could it be a coincidence that it appears here? You care who I come with, get out of the way, good dogs don't block the way, Xia Yingluo said. Gu Jingxiu frowned. Xia Yingluo, why are you so vulgar? Everyone is the daughter of a first-class wealthy family. She is so elegant and well-educated, but Xia Yingluo is like this. What qualifications does she have to be born into such a good family? Gu Jingxiu was embarrassed for her. The crystal store was originally quiet, but seeing the two of them arguing, some people gradually gathered around. They are both very beautiful, and it is rare to see such exquisite beauties quarreling. There are already people whispering around, I wonder what these two little beauties have going on? The smell of gunpowder is really strong. It's a big festival. Xia Yingluo looked at Gu Jingxiu and sneered, you haven't received enough lessons at the Du family banquet last time, why are you quarreling again this time? Gu Jingxiu's face turned ugly when she thought of what happened last time. On that day, Wei Lingnan made a special trip to meet Xia Yingluo's parents and brought gifts. Where did he put her fiancé? Thinking like this, he said to Xia Yingluo, it's not an injustice to say that you are vulgar and uneducated. Why are you hooking up with my fiancé so well? I'm warning you, stay away from Lingnan. Don't rely on your family's wealth. Just do whatever you want without losing face. Before Xia Yingluo said anything, the onlookers all had expressions of understanding. It turned out that the wife of the wife was fighting against the mistress. I really didn't expect that this beautiful girl in front of me would hook up with someone else's fiancé. She is really a slut, and a person cannot be judged by her appearance. They say beautiful women are unreliable, and it's true, someone else whispered. Xia Yingluo heard this and felt aggrieved. What? Gu Jingxiu is obviously not Wei Lingnan's fiancé, but she pretends to be so. Isn't it because Wei Lingnan has never exposed her? Wei Lingnan is also serious, what's the point of indulging Gu Jingxiu like this? It's you who are shameless, she said to Gu Jingxiu. The mistress is still so arrogant. There were people around who couldn't stand it anymore. Yes, yes, someone else echoed, shouting loudly, being a mistress is the most despicable, a bitch. Gu Jingxiu showed a look of pride. Since Xia Yingluo dared to steal her fiancé, she would ruin her reputation. Let's see who can defeat whom. It doesn't matter, there's a long way to go. She said to Xia Yingluo, did you hear that? Everyone says you are cheap. Who dares to call my woman cheap? Suddenly, a man's voice came. Everyone turned around and saw Wei Lingnan wearing a formal suit. His elegant figure was walking towards the side in a leisurely manner. He was well dressed and graceful, which made many girls present blush immediately. Gu Jingxiu's face paled slightly. Wei Lingnan turned out to be him. If he didn't come to the concert with him, but he showed up here, then there was only one possibility. He shied away from his invitation and came here specifically to accompany Xia Yingluo. The importance of the two of them in his heart was already obvious. She looked extremely aggrieved and shouted, Lingnan. Wei Lingnan walked through the crowd and came to them. He did not look at Jingxiu, but only looked down at Xia Yingluo. Are you okay? Xia Yingluo shook her head. Gu Jingxiu's expression became even more aggrieved, and his eye circles were slightly red. Among the onlookers, some people couldn't stand it any longer and said, he must be the fiancé of that young lady over there. Why are you having with your mistress? It's too much. Can you treat your fiancé well and dump your mistress? Yingluo is not a mistress. Wei Lingnan's voice was very faint, but it was clearly heard by everyone present. She is my girlfriend, and as for that one over there. As he said that, he glanced at Gu Jingxiu, his eyes were full of coldness. Fiancé? I've never had a fiancé, she was the one who appointed herself. Gu Jingxiu, don't give you 3 points and just slap her on your face. Xia Yingluo was stunned. She didn't expect that he had acquiesced to Gu Jingxiu for so long, but would expose her at this moment. However, it's so fun. Gu Jingxiu should have been taught a lesson long ago. Gu Jingxiu looked at Wei Lingnan in disbelief. Lingnan, what did you say? Wei Lingnan said calmly, didn't I make it clear enough? I didn't have a girlfriend before and I didn't care about you, but now I have Yingluo. Please stop pretending to be my fiancé, Miss Gu. This sentence was like a resounding slap in the face, which made Jingxiu lose her face in public. Gu Jingxiu shook her head, this is not true, Lingnan, I have always been your fiancé. What kind of medicine did this woman give you to make you go to her like this? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1287. Chapter 1287 With me or without her. Wei Lingnan sneered slightly, Miss Gu, it turns out that I was drugged because I helped Yingluo speak up. Am I stupid in your eyes? Gu Jingxiu was panicking, knowing that she had said the wrong thing. Which man wants to be seen as having no opinion? What's more, Wei Lingnan is such a proud man. She was eager to make amends. How could it be? Lingnan, you have always been so outstanding. I was just worried that you would be wise and careless. After all, you had always been so good to me before, but since I met Xia Yingluo, it's like I've become a different person, and you don't even want to recognize me as your fiancé. Lingnan, do you still remember what you said before to treat me well? As he spoke, his eyes became red again. Xia Yingluo looked at Gu Jingxiu's tearful performance, and then looked at Wei Lingnan's indifferent expression, and thought to herself that this drama was really wonderful. She consciously took a few steps back to give Gu Jingxiu more room to perform and see how Gu Jingxiu would end it. Wei Lingnan lowered his head and glanced at Xia Yingluo, his narrow eyes slightly narrowed, thoughtfully. This little girl looks calm even when the fire is burning on her body, or, is she just watching the fire from the other side? Thinking like this, Wei Lingnan felt a little unhappy. So he said to Gu Jingxiu, I remember. Just 3 words, Gu Jingxiu's face turned from sadness to joy. He couldn't believe it was true. The people watching around looked at each other in confusion. What on earth is going on? The man in front of him refused to admit that Gu Jingxiu was his fiancée for a while, and then said that he remembered the sweet words he had said. What kind of trouble was he going to make? I remember when you were 16 years old, Wei Lingnan said to Gu Jingxiu in an unhurried voice, I went to visit your great-grandfather at your home and met you in the tea house. You were wearing a camellia cheongsam and stood in for me. The way she poured tea was beautiful. Your great-grandfather joked that we were both handsome together. You smiled shyly, and I praised your smile as gentle as water under the moonlight. His voice was soft and unknowingly. It's like bringing everyone back to that scene. Time goes back and the handsome man and the beautiful girl met for the first time, creating a great story. Xia Yingluo stood aside and listened quietly, feeling like a kitten scratching her paws in her heart, feeling painful and itchy. It turned out that his first encounter with Gu Jingxiu was so beautiful, but what about his own? Xia Yingluo remembered the casino not long ago. She went to find Zhao Yuqiu and Xingxi miserably and embarrassedly, but was treated as a bet and lost to him. A night of chaos. They feel a little inferior without realizing it. What does that mean to them? Wei Lingnan glanced at her calmly, but she didn't notice it and was lost in thought. Gu Jingxiu smiled happily, Lingnan, you have a really good memory, don't you? At that time you also praised the beautiful embroidery of the camellia cheongsam I was wearing and asked me which store it was made in. The kitten in Xia Yingluo's heart started to scratch its paws again. What cheongsam? So Wei Lingnan likes that look? I really want to tear that woman's mouth apart, huh, and Wei Lingnan's hateful face. She looked unhappy and took a few steps back. Out of the blue, a strong arm hugged her waist. It was Wei Lingnan. He lowered his head and looked at her. Are you feeling well? No, she said stiffly, trying to get rid of his hand, but she couldn't. Someone covets your boyfriend, but you don't show any sign of it, huh, he said in her ear, his voice low and ambiguous. Xia Yingluo was angry, raised her little face and looked at him fiercely. You seem to be happy to be coveted by others. Mr. Wei, please tell me clearly what is the relationship between this Miss Gu and you. I don't want to be with you. The innocent people are together. Wei Lingnan was not angry, but smiled. So you don't have a temper? I have a very bad temper. She became even more angry. I am here today without her. In the past, Xia Yingluo did not care so much about the unclear relationship between Wei Lingnan and Gu Jingxiu, because at that time she was not a Wei Lingnan's girlfriend, but it's different now. There's no sand in her eyes. Wei Lingnan's smile deepened. Over there, Gu Jingxiu also heard Xia Yingluo's words, became nervous, and looked at Wei Lingnan aggrievedly. Lingnan, do you still remember? When you asked me where that camellia cheongsam was made, my great-grandfather joked, that's the main business of the shop, is making wedding cheongsam. You said you might consider going there to get married. My great-grandfather said that we have very similar tastes, so why not make an engagement? Now that my great-grandfather has passed away, Lingnan, do you want to regret your marriage? He loved you so much when he was alive, how could you bear it? Love. Xia Yingluo found this word a bit scary. Who is Wei Lingnan? A perverted alien who has lived for who knows how many years. Before Gu Jingxiu's great-grandfather was born, Wei Lingnan had already gone through many vicissitudes of life, and the word love seemed too weird when applied to them. Xia Yingluo, whose views were subverted, couldn't help but say, it's nonsense. Gu Jingxiu looked at her with a hint of hatred in his eyes. You don't even know these old things. Please don't ruin someone's marriage. There are really all kinds of people these days. It turns out that the old man's last wish can be used in this way. Xia Yingluo sneered. Gu Jingxiu also sneered, you shameless mistress. Xia Yingluo didn't say anything, but raised her head and glanced at Wei Lingnan. She was too lazy to argue with Gu Jingxiu. This trouble was originally caused by Wei Lingnan, and it was Wei Lingnan who had to solve it. If she has to come forward for this kind of thing, then this man doesn't need to do it. Wei Lingnan understood what she meant. In fact, when she said with me but without her, Wei Lingnan was already very satisfied. He had no intention of letting Xia Yingluo worry about the rest. The crystal shop was brightly lit, and crowds of spectators gathered around it. In front of everyone, Wei Lingnan smiled at Gu Jingxiu. Your great-grandfather is a nice old man. He wanted to bring us together back then, but I didn't agree. I did ask you where you bought that cheongsam. I also said that I was considering going to that store to make cheongsam for the wedding, but I never said that the bride would be you. Miss Gu, please stop being so sentimental. I didn't have a girlfriend before, and you claim to be my fiancé. I don't care about you, but now I have a girlfriend and I don't want to make her sad. Please respect yourself in the future. These words shocked Gu Jingxiu to the point of collapse. The buzzing of the crowd rose again. It was really the love of Miss Gu, and the gentlemen did not agree at all. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1288. Chapter 1288 The Spoils of War. Isn't it true, another person said, my real girlfriend has shown up and is still stalking me. Gu Jingxiu's face turned pale amidst the discussion, and she looked at Wei Lingnan with difficulty, wanting to redeem herself, but not knowing how. In the crowd of onlookers, someone suddenly said, hey, this Miss Gu looks familiar. Where have I seen it before? Wait, That's right. I saw it in the newspaper. In an interview about high-end perfume, this Miss Gu is Gu Jingxiu, the daughter of Gu's perfume company, the figure shouted excitedly as if she had discovered a new world. Gu Jingxiu was shocked to be recognized by someone. Normally, he wouldn't mind being recognized, but it was different now. She was being humiliated in public. How unlucky and embarrassing would it be to be recognized under such circumstances? Gu Jingxiu didn't want to stay here any longer, so she turned around and left. Wait a minute, Miss Gu, you don't want to run away, but Xia Yingluo didn't let her go. Gu Jingxiu wanted to kill the hateful woman in front of him. He suppressed his anger and turned back arrogantly. What else do you want? Xia Yingluo said with a smile, there was something wrong at first, but now it's gone. You can go. The tone of voice that comes and goes quickly is like treating a puppy. Gu Jingxiu was so angry that her lungs were about to burst. Xia Yingluo, don't go too far. Xia Yingluo still smiled, why did I go too far? If you tell me, can't I change it? Gu Jingxiu was in trouble and couldn't tell her. What should she say? You can't blame Xia Yingluo for treating her like a puppy. The current scene was already embarrassing enough, but she didn't want to make herself even more embarrassed. Gu Jingxiu snorted coldly and left without looking back this time. Seeing the heroine of one of the incidents leaving, the onlookers were still unsatisfied. This Miss Gu is the daughter of a wealthy family in the city. It is really rare to be embarrassed in public. So, the person who can embarrass her is naturally a big shot. What are the backgrounds of Mr. Wei Lingnan and Miss Xia Yingluo in front of her? For a time, everyone speculated. I haven't heard of any news here or the rich family named Xia. Someone quietly pulled the companion next to him. His companion also shook his head blankly. Who knows, maybe they are from other places. Look at the way that gentleman and that lady are dressed. How could it be possible that they don't have money? That Miss Xia, I think she's wearing a new dress that was released during Paris Fashion Week last week. It's really beautiful, but I heard it's very expensive. Yes, and his temperament is outstanding, someone praised. To be fair, Xia Yingluo is indeed beautiful, and when she doesn't speak or make people angry, she naturally exudes a ladylike temperament. She is noble and generous, and naturally attracts everyone's attention. And what about Wei Lingnan? Standing next to her is also very outstanding. Her slender figure looks straight, her dress is elegant and has her own charm. Many girls blushed at the sight, secretly envious that Xia Yingluo could find such a handsome boyfriend. Wei Lingnan ignored the various gazes around him, lowered his head and spoke to Xia Yingluo, are you satisfied? Xia Yingluo looked at him arrogantly from the corner of her eyes, what makes me satisfied? You have been angry for a long time, don't you just want me to drive Gu Jingxiu away? Wei Lingnan said, as you wish. Remember, that's your job, you know, she still taught him very arrogantly, her delicate chin slightly raised, her eyes sparkling under the crystal lamp, looking like a commanding queen. Wei Lingnan was slightly in a trance. I seem to see the Aluo from hundreds of millions of years ago, standing at the top of the clan, overlooking all living beings. It's really nostalgic. Do you remember? Xia Yingluo said harshly. Wei Lingnan smiled and lowered his head to her, yes, my queen. His sudden obedience made her very uncomfortable. Xia Yingluo was stunned for a moment before she said, that's about the same. Is this still the Wei Lingnan she knew? The man who violently raped her when they first met, the man who kidnapped her to the underground base regardless of her resistance, was now as tame as a little sheep. If she had known that becoming his girlfriend would have such benefits, why would she have been so pretentious in the first place? You should become his girlfriend as soon as possible and squeeze him as much as you can, just like your mother squeezed your father, huh? Dozens of kilometers away, in another corner of the city, Li Lei, who was giving his wife a massage at home, suddenly sneezed. She looked at Wei Lingnan with satisfaction, This is pretty much it? Wei Lingnan handed something into her hand, a cold, brightly blooming crystal peony brooch. He remembered that he had handed her trophies countless times when he was on the planet Scatena. They were all dangerous things such as Zerg skulls and black domain ores. They contained very powerful energy and were the objects of competition for all creatures. But it was not good looking at all, even a little disgusting, and not worthy of her beautiful appearance. Only once, he fought a battle with a group of monsters in a mysterious and dangerous star field, and found something among the trophies, a necklace made of beautiful fluorite. It was a stone that was good for nothing but good looking, but it was really beautiful. Looking at the sparkling necklace, he suddenly felt how beautiful it would be if this necklace were worn on a Luo. He happily put away the necklace, placed it with other trophies, and brought it back to Scatena. On the planet Scatena, there is an endless queue of tribesmen, welcoming the returning warriors in triumph. His Aluo sat on the High Queen's throne and accepted the spoils offered by all the warriors. When it was his turn, all the tribesmen were very concerned because he was not only a powerful warrior, but also the only guardian of the newly appointed Queen Aluo. What he brought back was related to the queen's face. Wei Lingnan offered his spoils. Skull of alien beast, sword of light energy, heart of king insect. Each piece is extremely powerful and amazing. Aluo's face showed a look of satisfaction until he took out the fluorite necklace. What is this? Aluo asked him. My beautiful queen, Wei Lingnan said respectfully, this is the fluorite necklace brought back from the mysterious star field. It suits you very well. As soon as he finished speaking, he received a heavy blow to the chest, and his whole body flew backwards. He only felt that her sharp claws opened a deep and long on his body, and blood spurted out, covering the throne. He raised his head and met her angry eyes. I didn't send you to the mysterious star territory to bring back such useless things. Her voice was majestic and cold. Waste. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1289. Chapter 1289 Accident. Waste. These two words were like huge rocks, hitting his heart heavily. Wei Lingnan covered the wound on his chest with one hand, and the spurting blood stained his sharp fingers and claws red. He raised his head with difficulty and looked at the queen on the throne, feeling speechless in pain. Aluo's eyes were cold. Take your garbage and get out. On the vast and cracked dark purple land, thousands of soldiers were silent, and no one stood up to say a word to help him. Wei Lingnan understood that this humiliation was something he had brought upon himself. He led an army to the distant and unknown star field in order to bring back useful energy stones and various scarce supplies for his people. But what about him? After wasting a small burden and bringing back this sparkling necklace, he thought she would forgive him, or he was hoping for a miracle to get her forgiveness, but the miracle did not happen. She was furious that he wasted this little burden on her. In the eyes of Queen Aluo, nothing is more important than power. The little princess who was so happy when she saw a flower blooming has disappeared. Wei Lingnan lowered his head, smiled self-deprecatingly, bent down to pick up the necklace that she had discarded like a shoe, and walked away silently. Thunderous shouts came from the square, and the soldiers prostrate under the queen's throne, praising her fame and worshipping her. Wei Lingnan dragged his seriously injured body for a long distance alone and returned to his simple lair, breathing hard. He was still holding the fluorescent stone necklace tightly in his hand. The blood stained the shiny and beautiful stone red, mottled and shocking. Just now Aluo threw it out in anger, leaving it on several stones. The cracks are crisscrossed and irreparable. Wei Lingnan just looked at it quietly, as if looking at his own heart that had been trampled on. Soon, several more warriors broke in and took away the necklace in his hand, the queen ordered it to be taken to the garbage disposal site and destroyed. There is no need for extra things on Scatena. His injuries were too serious. Although he roared and struggled to save the small necklace, all his efforts were in vain. Thinking about the past hundreds of millions of years ago, Wei Lingnan's expression changed. Xia Yingluo didn't notice his expression. She only looked down at the crystal peony brooch in her hand and made a small sound of joy. "Ah, have you bought it? It's so beautiful. I like it very much." After a pause, then he said, "But I told you you don't need to buy it." Wei Lingnan's voice was a little cold. "Are you always so duplicitous?" Xia Yingluo was stunned. She didn't know where she had offended him, so she was not happy. "If you don't want to give it to me, don't give it to me. Who cares?" These words immediately aroused Wei Lingnan's anger. Caught off guard, Wei Lingnan pushed her to the corner hard. In the public, many people were watching them because of the incident just now. Some girls even said to their female companions, "Look over there, they are so romantic. They are playing with the wall so beautifully. If there is such a handsome man who is willing to kiss me, I am willing to." The girls chatted and laughed with envy. Xia Yingluo just wanted to cry, and there was a slight glimmer of water in the corners of her eyes. She didn't know what happened to Wei Lingnan. Why did he suddenly become so irritable and unreasonable? She just agreed to be his girlfriend, shouldn't he cherish her? What's going on like this now? One hand grabbed her wrists effortlessly, and threatened her softly in her ear, "Move any more." Xia Yingluo really didn't dare to move and said embarrassedly, "Don't do this." The voice trembled slightly. "Wei Lingnan, Aluo." He called her Aluo again, not Yingluo, but Aluo. Xia Yingluo thought vaguely, what on earth does he want? Does he love her? Still hate her? Love shouldn't be like this. Wei Lingnan ignored her, flipped his hand, and easily lifted her up, leaning her back into his arms. He wanted to tell her who was the master of all this. In front of him, she was not a superior queen, but a weak little girl who was dependent on him. His Aluo. Xia Yingluo felt like she was going to collapse. This was really a shop? There are people everywhere. "Don't," she said with a tearful voice, "I curse your Aluo to never live again." This time, Wei Lingnan let her go and looked directly into her eyes with a cold gaze, as if he wanted to eat someone. Xia Yingluo trembled when he saw him, and she was thinking about a question in her heart at an inappropriate time, that is, can the Scatena people eat people? She covered her dress with both hands, telling herself, "Don't be afraid, Yingluo, there is nothing worse. Still catching a cold, I slept all day, and there will be another update tonight. I will save the manuscript for tomorrow at noon before going to bed. I will be on time tomorrow." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1290. Chapter 1290 Compartment. Wei Lingnan spoke softly, "You are looking for death." He can tolerate many things from her, but this does not include cursing Aluo. Dragons have reverse scales, and Aluo is his reverse scale. Xia Yingluo looked at him, her voice still trembling, "I want to break up with you." How naive was she before to agree to be with Wei Lingnan? This man is a perverted beast and a devil, not to mention he is still thinking about another woman in his heart. Even if love is like a moth flying into a flame, her wings will be burned over and over again, she will still feel pain and will flinch. Wei Lingnan looked at her gloomily. Her lips hurt, and there was still a trace of smell in her mouth, which was just bitten by him. She grabbed her broken dress with one hand and wiped the blood from her lips with the other hand. Her smooth back was pressed against the cold wall, like a stubborn little beast. She looked pale and her hair was messy. The originally beautiful rose gold eyeshadow seemed to cast a layer of gloom under the blurry and unreal crystal light, and the cold metallic texture was reflected in her eyes, making her look distant. Wei Lingnan became irritable for no reason. Don't you want to be my girlfriend? He sneered. No one has taught you that you must do what you promise? Very good, Xia Yingluo, then I will teach you. Without warning, he dragged her deeper into the corridor, reached the women's bathroom, threw her in, and closed the door. Xia Yingluo's body was knocked hard against the marble sink, the water faucet was knocked open, and the water flowed out, soaking her body and making her look particularly embarrassed. She finally regained her footing, but Wei Lingnan was approaching step by step, trapping her between the marble sink and the mirror wall. As you wish, I won't kill you in the shop just now, he said. Are you satisfied here? Get away, Xia Yingluo screamed. Wei Lingnan, you perverted madman, I have already told you that I am not your ally. Are you aliens all perverts? His body was too close, her waist had to bend backwards, and it soon reached its limit, and it hurt so much that it felt like it was about to break. She could feel his body temperature through the thin material of her clothes. It was frighteningly hot. He bent down to look at her, with the tip of his nose touching hers, and smiled. We people from Scatena are not perverts. Do you know why I directly wanted you that time in the casino? Going to bed with me will help your memory recovery. Allo, you will dream about a lot of things in the past. Since you still can't remember them, I don't mind making your dreams clearer. Don't be like this. Xia Yingluo's heart was trembling. She didn't know what else this man had not planned. It turns out that even that kind of thing can be used. You asked me many times about dreams when I was in the underground experimental base, but I can only remember the scenes you once described to me, and nothing else. If this method works, it will be long ago its time to work, but there is nothing left except those rejection reactions. Wei Lingnan, why don't you try another method? Xia Yingluo's mind raced and she said hurriedly, but you can't force it anymore. Otherwise, I won't cooperate with you. Wei Lingnan narrowed his eyes at her dangerously, as if weighing the pros and cons. After a long while, he gently let go of her. Xia Yingluo secretly breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. It seemed that he had not completely lost his mind. Put your clothes in order, let's go to the concert. It should start soon. Wei Lingnan returned to his gentle and elegant appearance. If you have anything else to do, wait until after the concert. The back of her dress had been torn to pieces by him, and she said, wait a minute. She tried desperately to save the dress, but she couldn't make it look like a normal one without any traces. Wei Lingnan said, turn around. She looked at him warily. Wei Lingnan was impatient and pushed her body to turn around, completely tearing the crumbling rags apart in a few strokes. Before she had time to scream, he had already changed the original tube top skirt into a deep V-style backless style, and only used a thin strap to fix the original tube top, which was actually very beautiful. Xia Yingluo looked at herself through the mirror and him standing behind her, with mixed feelings in her heart. What are you looking at? Wei Lingnan continued to adjust the angle of the thin strap. Be careful when you can walk, it's not very strong. But it should turn heads very much. You are very suitable for wearing a dress like this. Xia Yingluo said sarcastically, I didn't expect you, an alien, to know the aesthetics of the earth so well. Wei Lingnan said, there are many things you can't think of. He would not tell her that this is not just the aesthetics on earth. In the vast universe, there are also planets similar to the earth, inhabited by creatures that are almost the same as humans. Once, Alugo and he went to conquer a planet like that. Seeing the locals wearing beautiful dresses, Alugo's eyes flashed with envy. Wei Lingnan said to her at the time, like it? I'll ask them to make a set for you. Alugo shook his head, forget it. She didn't tell Wei Lingnan the reason, but Wei Lingnan could roughly guess that it was inappropriate for a race like them that advocated force to wear these gorgeous clothes. Alugo was afraid of indulging in pleasure and forgetting the desire to kill. So in the near future, we would meet. She only has failure and death. This is the fate of the Scatena people. He never mentioned the gorgeous clothes to Alugo again, but he thought more than once about how charming Aluo would be if she could wear them. He adjusted Xia Yingluo's dress and turned her body over again so that she was face to face with him. The lace was slightly lowered, revealing some cigarette burn scars on her white chest, left by him in the casino not long ago. Wei Lingnan's eyes fell on the scar. Xia Yingluo also followed his line of sight and saw the scar, and said coldly, "Does it look good?" He asked, "Why not get rid of it?" He hated her at that time and just wanted to take revenge on her for abandoning him and making him pursue revenge for so many years. But after perming, I felt a little regretful. It's rare that Aluo is so beautiful and flawless now, just like the little princess she once was who didn't like killing at all. Why add wounds to her body? Xia Yingluo just sneered and said nothing. Wei Lingnan took off his formal jacket and put it on her shoulders. "Your clothes are wet, this is better." It just happened to block the traces of water on his body. The clothes carry his body temperature. Xia Yingluo frowned and wanted to speak, but still did not refuse. "Let's go." She opened the bathroom door first and walked out, followed closely by Wei Lingnan. Shortly after they left, a small door in the bathroom stall was opened, and a woman came out. End of this chapter.